Okay, in this video we're going to take a look at how to create lists in HTML, and you'll notice that this one's already got a tab at the top, and the tab has been set up to say lists in HTML. So this is the title tag. Here we have an H2 and another H2 for titles, and underneath of each is a list. This list is an unordered list, and it's just signified by bullet points, and the ordered list is numerically ordered 1, 2, 3, so automatically done. You don't have to put the numbers in there, the tags take care of it for you. Now, as a quick reminder, one way that you can open up these files is to find them in your file browser in your My Documents and right click on it and choose Open With. Then you'll get a little list of possible programs that you can use. If you have Dreamweaver, which is a code specific web page editor, that'll show up here. You can also open it with Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Notepad. We'll be working in Notepad because we're going to edit the code directly, but these other two options will open up what it looks like when it's done. The difference between a editor like Dreamweaver or Notepad is that there you'll see the code, whereas with Chrome or Explorer you're just going to see the final results. So make sure you understand that little difference. So just to refresh your memory, here's a few reminders about how HTML works. The opening and closing tags for HTML signify that we're working in HTML code, and the entire page must be encased in the HTML and the end HTML tag. The top section here is the head section, and this will include things that don't necessarily appear on the page. For example, the title. So the title and end title tags tell us lists in HTML, so that when we view this in a browser such as Chrome, we'll be able to see that title at the very top. So going back to our list, here's the body, and the body tags beginning here and end here contain everything that's on the page visually. H2 tags are like you can have H1, H2, H3. The smaller the number, the bigger the text is for the header text. So that's going to be larger, bolder text than usual. Then right here I have some new stuff. So here's another H2, and let's see what that looks like real quick. So the H2 looks like this. Now if there's H1, it would be bigger. Let's look at H1 real quick. So H1 can be like this, and I will save it, and then I'll go back and reopen or reload the page by pushing F5. So now it's got bigger here. Now there's no point to having two different sizes, since in terms of importance they're both along the same line. So I'm going to go back to my document and undo what I just did. That's not the document. Let's go back to here and change those back to H2. That's H2. And that's H2. So now I save it again, and I go back to my page, and I have F5. Now they're the same size. So the changes in sizes for my headers are going to determine sort of their importance or the priority on the page. So back to our code, here's some new stuff. This is an unordered list. Notice it starts with UL and ends with /UL, and that's my unordered list. Then there's ordered list. Ordered list is when there's numbers in it, and OL ending with /OL. So I have to have my beginning tag and my end tag. Inside of this I've got LI, which is list item, and end LI. So next we're going to look at some good coding practices, and the first thing I've done here is I've made a new Notepad document. It's untitled. So I'm going to choose File, Save As before I do anything to make sure I know where it's going and what I'm going to call it. I've got a folder for my HTML documents. I'm going to call this List Sample 2. And end it with HTML. Now the default is to be text document. If I set this to HTML at the end, the file name extension HTML is going to tell us to open it either in a browser or in a text editor or a code editor. So I'm going to save that. Oops, looks like I've already got an O2. Let me change that to O3. There we go. Now I've got this one open. So next I'm going to start making my tags. Now the first thing I'm going to put in here is my HTML tags. Notice I'm making those tags first and closing those tags. Oops, that one's not closed. The slash indicates the close. So I'm closing them because I want to make sure I close the tags before I get busy creating content. Now notice I'm also going to put some spaces in here. And the spaces sort of paragraph out my code. So I know that certain parts of my page and my code are going to be separate from others. Now inside the head tags are things that are going to appear not on the page. for example, the title tag is going to appear up in the tab at the top of my browser. So I'm going to call this /title, and I'm going to put inside of that my I'll call it list tester. So that's going to appear at the top. Now if all I do is file, save, and then I go to my browser and I find that, I think this is the one, and I open with Google Chrome, all we see here is list tester. There's no content on it because I have not designed the content yet. Let's leave that open so we can change it and refresh it as we go. Let's go back to our document. Next, I'm going to go into my body section. Now the body section is the stuff that does appear on the page. Now I'm using capital letters in all my tags here. You actually don't have to do that. It'll work just fine without. It does not create any errors if you do this. So now I'm going to put at the top, I'm going to call this my lists in HTML. Now let's save that, Control S. I'm going to go back to my browser and I'm going to F5, and now it says lists in HTML. Doesn't look very handsome. Let's go back to here and let's actually put some header tags on this. Now normally I like to put my header tags in first and then the contents, but I just want to show what the change is here. So H1 is the biggest, and the larger the number, the smaller the tag, the smaller the header. So /H1 gives me that closure. So I'm going to save. Let's go back and look at the difference. And here it is, F5. So that's bigger. Okay, so I can go back to my code editor here, and let's make a smaller tag here, a smaller header. So this one will be H3, and let's say this one's going to be an unordered list. And close the tag. Now what did I do wrong here? I should have made the tags first and then the content. Now does that make my list? No. What I have to do to make an unordered list is UL. And I'm going to make my closing tag, because this is the kind of thing where I'll forget. I'll make a whole bunch of list items, and then I'll forget to close the tags. That's why I do that first. Now I'm going to make a list item, LI. And here's where I'm going to cheat the process a little bit. /LI. And I'm going to copy this section. Copy. And now I'm going to start making my items in my list. So let's say this is a shopping list. I'm going to get some lettuce, and let's add another item. I'm going to Control V or right click, paste. Now I do that because if I type it again, I might make some mistakes and it might take longer. I want to shortcut the process. I'm going to get some tomatoes and enter, and Control V will give me another list item. Lettuce, tomatoes, and pickles. Making a sandwich. So there's my unordered list. I saved it. I go back to my browser and I F5, and there's my unordered list. So this is my H1, this is my H3. Notice they're smaller for the bigger numbers, and there's my unordered list. So next I'm going to make an ordered list, which is going to have numbers in it. So this is going to be opening with an H3 tag because I want them to match. They're of the same level of importance. And ordered lists. And I'm going to close with H3. Okay. So this is going to have ordered list, OL tag, and then I'm going to make sure I put the closing tag, because I'm probably going to make a bunch of stuff before I remember that tag, and if I forget it, I'm going to get it wrong. So let's just pretend like I did it the wrong way, which isn't really wrong, it just doesn't work as good. So let me put a few list items in here. Here's a look, I can use the same list item in here, and in this case I'm going to shred the lettuce. It's like a cooking list, right? And the next item I'm doing, I pasted the list item tag in there because it's quicker and easier and more accurate. And I'm going to dice tomatoes like a recipe. You can use these lists for anything, by the way. Directions, etc. And what should we do with the pickles? Slice the pickles? Sure. Now if I save this, remembering that I've left out the end tag from my ordered list, let's go back here, reload the page, F5, reload the page. And so it sort of works, but if I go to do something else, it's going to be inside that tag. So I'm going to go back to here. I guess that worked better than I thought it would. I'm going to add the ending tag /OL. So I'm going to get the same results now. If I go back, I thought I'd get an error, and I didn't. F5, same thing. So that's how you create lists and unordered lists.